So, hi everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for those of you who are watching the replay. We are opening the series for 2024 on courageous conversations, those conversations that we are courageous enough to bring to this table and start on Black History Month because we are celebrating the history behind fabulous group of people. And I have with me today Dr. Nathan Charles, who is also a member of our board here at ICF South Florida chapter, and André Brown, who is also very active with our chapter. So welcome you both, and I am really thankful to have you here and to share with us everything you want to share with us this evening. So welcome, Nathan, and welcome, Andre. And so to make this a little bit dynamic, I want to introduce Dr. Nathan Charles, and he will give us like a brief background of all his experience and all his knowledge and everything that he has agreed to bring to us today. So, Dr. Nathan, tell us a little bit about your experience, your background, and
Thank
what
you
brings you.
thank you very much, Claudia. My background, I was trained as a psychologist. That's where my PhD is in counseling psychology, and I made the transition from being trained into taught university for a little while. For several years, actually, I've always been adjunct. The last university I taught at was Nova Southeastern at their MBA level for the last, I think I taught there for about 20 years. So I made the transition from therapy to corporate America, and they placed me in executive and leadership development because of my background. And you don't know what you don't know, but being placed there was godsend because by the time I arrived there, I loved it. In those days, we had assessment centers that we assess executives and leaders for promotion and for development. And I've remained there ever since. I've worked for several Fortune 500 corporation. I have my own business. So that's who I am. So I have coaching. I've been coaching. It wasn't called coaching back in those days. You were just known as quote unquote an industrial psychologist. But I've been working in leadership development, the area of coaching for the last 30 plus years. I enjoy it, and that's who I am.
Thank you, Nathan. We are so delighted to have you here, and we're gonna take advantage of this time together to, know more about, all your experience and all your knowledge. So thank you so much for being
Thank you for
here.
having me.
And Andre, welcome to this courageous conversation, and thank you for accepting our invitation to be here. So tell us a little bit about yourself and about your
Sure.
background and all the experience that you have and the knowledge that you want to bring us.
Absolutely. Sure. And first and foremost, thank you for inviting me. And I'm glad to be here for this courageous conversation. And it's great to be here with Dr. Nathan because he's got quite a bit of experience. And so I'm looking forward to this conversation. So my journey really goes back to my background in child welfare. So for about 25 years, I worked for the state of Rhode Island, and I had a number of different roles there. The first was working within the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, where I worked with juvenile delinquents who were incarcerated in that and part of that system. So I served as a juvenile program worker. I also went into juvenile probation before jumping ship for a few years and going to adult probation. the last 10 years or so of my career, I became a trainer. And so my primary responsibility was really to prepare child welfare workers, social workers, child protective service workers with the skills that they needed to be able to be successful in the role. We trained new workers. We did a number of different things. And one of those things was that my role was to develop trainings. And so I developed DEIB trainings, I developed stress, strain, and healthcare, stress and strain types of trainings, and other trainings that were specific to the child welfare field. In 2016, 17, I recognized that, I had been working for the state for quite a few years, and I was like, it's time for a change. I want to try something different. And so, because I was too young to retire, I knew that I needed to do something or pick up something that was going to allow me to change professions and move in that direction. So my wife and I had considered moving to South Florida. And so I decided to take the University of Miami program, coaching program. And I've been in coaching since 2016, 2017. And I am so glad I did, because I love it. Just to close, the areas that I really focus on are leadership coaching, leadership executive, DEIB, and transition. And those are the things that I'm really excited about.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you, Andrew, for being here and for accepting our invitation and for sharing with us, like I said before, all your experience, all your knowledge. And so we're going to jump right into this courageous conversation. And I want to begin with asking Dr. Nathan, how do you perceive the landscape for male Black executive coaches in the USA?
I see it as a very open field, and I think I see it as a growth area. One, as we have more people of color moving into the leadership arena, I think there will be a greater need for people who look like themselves culturally and whatnot, so I see it as, and one, there is a scarcity of Black leadership right now, so as that expand, and not only Black, people of color generally, Black, and as that expand, I think there will be a need for coaches who understands, who understand where those people are coming from, so I don't think it's necessarily a color issue primarily, but it's a cultural issue. It's a cultural issue in terms of seeing people like yourself being able to understand and help you to get to where you want to get to. For instance, when I started out in corporate America, there weren't many role models for me out there. I got to to where I wanted to get to, but in a very circuitous manner. I wish there was someone like myself out there to say, you know what, here's help. And that's what I like about coaching. I can be that someone to those people who needed that, who needed those role models, who needed those coaching help along the way. So as I said, as you see more people of color, Black in particular, enter into the leadership arena, I think there'll be a greater need for Black coaches.
That's beautiful. when you said, Dr. Nathan, you know, to have coaches that they know where they're coming from, or that they know what the coachee needs.
Mhm.
What do you see there? Like, what are the needs specifically?
I think the need to understand what it means to be seen,
Mm-hmm.
to be heard, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah,
and Andre can talk more about that. Just the need to
right.
belong, That
Yes, I
I'm not
love that.
a, a usurper, but
Mm-hmm.
I belong around that table or that in that room. You know, and so I think that is what you bring. You understand, you know, as a Black coach, I understand pain. I understand disappointment. I understand overcoming barriers. You know, I understand resilience. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I am saying that all of those things, you know, can someone of a different color produce it? I think to some extent, yes, but to the extent of understanding understanding where someone is coming from, because
Mm-hmm.
it was not so much acquired experience by through you know, books and whatnot. It was a
Mm-hmm.
lived experience that was acquired,
Right.
and I think that what makes the difference, a lived
Mm-hmm.
experience, and saying to someone, you know what, I understand where you're coming, rather than trying to talk them out of it. No, it's not like that. No, it was like that. And because it was like that, I can still overcome. So you're not negating the person. You know, you're saying, yes, I understand, but this is what you do in order to move forward.
Wow, that's powerful. Andre, would you like to continue with that train of thought, and what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to say that Nathan made some outstanding thoughts, and I think, you know, like as I, you know, I've been in coaching, like I said, since 2016,
Mm-hmm.
and so it hasn't been that long. It's been a few years, but it hasn't been that long. But I think one of the things, and I agree with Nathan in that there's opportunities here. There's opportunities for coaches
Right.
from a number of different backgrounds to put themselves in the marketplace and be able to make some significant change. And one of the things that I've seen is that there's so few of us, especially when you talk about
Mm-hmm.
Black male coaches. There's just like, it's almost like when I'm looking around, I'm like, oh wow, there's another brother that's,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's part of part of this group, and so it's rare to
Right.
see that, and so I love to see that, because as we know, you know, it's a coaching is really predominantly a women and predominantly a white women's place, and so, you know, there is a need for voices from other perspectives, and Black males, you know, like, are no exception. We need and the group, you know, the coaching profession needs to welcome uh, men and men of color into this space, so that the voices of those those clients, coachees that we work with are able to be heard, that the coaches and the clients are able to be heard. That voice is what's really most important, I think.
So in this train of thought, what unique challenges do you think that you know, Black male coaches encounter in their professional journey?
Unique challenges, I think, you know, it really goes back. I mean, first and foremost, I think it goes back to having, like we all come from a different perspective. We all have
Mm-hmm.
experienced life from our own perspective, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, if we are not able to speak to, as Nathan said, the challenges, the issues that black coaches experience, and whether it's black coaches or just black male coaches in particular, it's difficult for others to understand what types of problems we're experiencing. So one of the things that I think is really a struggle is that the coaching profession is no different than other professions. Like, so when you're talking about coaching, the environment might be different. We're talking about a different set of skills, et cetera, but the issues are the same. There's still situations where implicit bias comes into play. There's still experiences where racism and discrimination are all factors. And I'm not saying that every situation is like that, but these are things that we have to address or have to contend with as black male coaches.
Okay, Dr. Nathan, would you like to add?
And that is so true, because one of the challenges is one whereby and I think André said it well, the implicit bias. There's a preconception in terms of one's expertise, one's competence, and one's qualifications. By virtue of, can you be an executive leadership, whatever coach you want to be? And I find myself almost to the point that I cannot forget my bio. I walk around with it. This is who I am. This is my professional experience, and so I cannot forget it myself, and I can't allow others to forget it, because that's how you're judged. So when people, after hearing my bio, they say, okay, I think you you have passed the entrance requirement to be in the room. In terms of coaching. Someone once asked me, they said, why do you always have to repeat your background? I said, and this was coming from a white coach. I said, I don't have that privilege, because every day I have to prove to people that, what, I do have the competence, the expertise, the qualification to be here. Does it become tiring? Yes, it becomes tiring. But you understand the landscape, and I work for corporations. Whereby, as I said, in executive and leadership training, and it was the same thing, and it was even more so back in those days. So I think that's one of the challenge to let people know that you are capable, you are competent in terms of helping them. In terms of helping them. And it's a two-edged sword.
Right.
Because you get it from both sides. you get it from the majority who say, do you really belong here? And again, from the other side, who are not used to seeing people like themselves in those spaces, sort of question, are you the real McCoy? So those are the challenges that we have to face, and this is why we have to pay careful attention to professionalism, our own development, and I think, as André alluded to, we have to be a support group to each other.
Right. Yeah. And you said something very important at the beginning, Dr. Nathan. You talked about belonging. And this is something that I have been talking about with other coaches. And this is like a reason to have the DIB initiative in our chapter, so that starting from that foundation of belonging, we can do the rest. Right. And you said that beautifully. So in the field of coaching, executive coaching, What obstacles or barriers do you believe Black male coaches face when it comes to establishing credibility and gaining clients? And I think you started to elaborate a little bit. Andre, would you like to contribute?
Sure, absolutely. I think that a big part of this thing, and as I said earlier, my the areas that I primarily coach in are leadership development, DEIB, and transition. And I think one of the, like in my case, the situation that occurred for me was that as I was transitioning into a full-time coaching role, that was early 2020, right around the time of the pandemic. So as we know, the pandemic occurred, and then the George Floyd murder occurred. And obviously our country was in a lot of turmoil. Actually, the world was in a lot of turmoil, but our country had these specific issues going on. And so what I thought to do was in that during that time, because I was new to coaching and I was just starting to coach full time, was I said, you know what can I do to really help out in this situation? Because for me, being a person to empower others and being there to support others, that's just part of my DNA. And I've always been like that. And so in this situation, that's what I decided to do. And so what I did was I devoted time to developing a training to develop people and so that they can become anti-racist and anti-discriminatory. That said, during that time, there was a lot of DEIB was at the forefront, and people were interested in learning more about DEIB and moving in that direction. I thought, you know what, this is great. For me, I thought that this was a great opportunity to help change the mindsets of a lot of people, and especially those people who hadn't given a lot of thought to it. And so my initial focus really became working in the DEIB field. And at first it was really encouraging, and I had a lot of clients based on that premise. But what happened, and this is what the challenge for me has been, is that for someone who's really passionate about DEIB, as time went on, as we went into 2022 and 2023, there became less and less of a focus on DEIB. There were less people interested in it. There were less people that wanted to focus their efforts on it. And in fact, it became like in the last year or two, through political means and other means, it's become stigmatized. DEIB is no longer this thing like, yes, this is what we need. And there's been lots of changes in terms of our laws and all of that. And we won't get into that, but DEIB in just a short period of time has gone from being something that people wanted to embrace and aspire to as a whole, to something that is like, I don't know. And so I've had a lot less clients in that area. And so that's been a primary difficulty for me in terms of getting people to be involved in that piece.
Yeah, that's a huge challenge. Dr. Nathan?
Yeah, I fully agree with everything that André just said. I think you hit the nail on the head. And one of the challenges I was thinking about, and I think I have come up with my own way of overcoming that challenge, is the so-called chemistry meeting. I don't, my chemistry meeting is an hour. I don't do any less than that. Because especially when you're dealing with as a Black male with majority, I feel So my chemistry meeting is actually, I go through, it's a live coaching session that
Mhm.
I understand where you coming from, and letting them see that I am focused on results and outcomes, that I am focused on them, that I care about their progress, you know.
Mhm.
So even that, you know, it can be a challenge for you know, a 5 minutes chemistry meeting, nothing can be done there because
Right.
you're overcoming a lot of implicit stuff, you know.
Mhm.
So as they get exposed to me over a period of an hour where I'm actually helping them to solve something that they brought to the chemistry session, then they say, you know what?
Mhm.
I can work with this guy. So
Mhm.
everything else sort of move to the background, and this and they understand that. So I say, you know, to anyone and any black person out there, coach, don't go for 5, 10 chemistry session. You know, go for an in-depth chemistry session where they can ask, you can ask them, you can empathize with them, you can say to them, I understand your pain. It might be different than mine, but I understand it. I hear you. You know, so I think that is something that I have found that you know, as I said, my chemistry sessions are an hour.
Mhm. That's good. Yeah,
I,
it's like the discovery session, and that way you have the platform for yourself to, you know, for them to see you perform, right? In a way, I
Actually,
want to say perform,
you're right.
so
Perform.
they can have a sense of all your experience, all your background, and everything that you can bring to them. So,
Absolutely.
in a little, would you say that this is a challenge in itself? It's a big pressure on you.
Oh yes, it is because you are, you know,
Mhm.
again, you are in a man. You're put this way, and this is I don't like to generalize because not so in every case, but in the majority of the case, you you know, you have to prove them to the other person that you are worthy.
Mhm.
yes,
Right.
You know, other people don't
Oh my
have that.
gosh.
Other people, you're worthy is whether or not I accept or reject you. But you have to prove before you get to that stage that you're worthy. You know,
Mhm.
you know, should, you know, I wish it wasn't like that, but in many cases,
Right.
you know, and this and you know and this pulls on another barrier that we face, a lack of access,
Mhm.
networking access, right?
mhm,
So the more you are able to have access, networking access, you know, you don't have to, you know, people are referring you by word of mouth. You don't have to go through that as
Mhm.
often. But again, we lack access to the higher echelon of clients, you know.
Mhm.
So that's a challenge. How do we get,
Yeah.
you know, and again, the way I overcame that several years ago is, if you're only letting me mid-level managers,
Mhm.
I will deal with them because hopefully in some time, and many of them are there now, they'll move to higher levels.
Right.
So,
Yes.
so,
And
so
you'll
I'm
have
not
the
going to fight.
opportunity.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
fight to get into that echelon, higher echelon. No, I'm
Mhm.
fine working with mid-level. Now I'm working with more senior executive because those mid-level
Mhm.
people, after they have seen the
Okay.
benefits that you bring to them, when they
Right.
get there,
right,
they want to
that's
bring you
right.
along with them and refer you
That's
to their
amazing.
friends.
That's amazing. Andre, would you like to
Yeah, I just like I love
add?
that. I love what Nathan
Mhm.
said about, well, both the access and in terms of networking, and it's just really true that, like, you know, when you talked about having that hour long introductory session,
Mhm.
another big part of that is that you're able to, and this is, I think, one of the challenges that we as Black male coaches have, is you may have people that are interested and intrigued for one reason or another, but it's developing that trust. It's like when you're able to connect with people and to basically knock their socks off with what you're capable of doing in terms of providing that service to them, that's where they're like, oh wow, okay, this is like I can do this. I'm all for this. And so I think that is like an excellent way to handle that. But to your second point, yeah, it becomes, you know, the challenge becomes, how do we take what we've done? And it sounds like you've figured it out in a way by focusing on that group, that mid group, and providing as much service to them. And as they move up, they remember you and they're like, hey, you know, I want to reconnect with Dr. Nathan and continue coaching. One interesting thing in my case, I've worked with, like I have some coaches through Better Up, and I have one client that has, you know, she started at one level, and this is in the last 3 years. She started at one level and she continues to grow and progress, and she's relatively young. I mean, she's very young. She's probably in her early 30s. And we have continued this relationship, and as we go on, she continues to want to reconnect and wants me to go along with her. And so it's almost like this partnership that we've, you know, at this point, she's my longest lasting client, and we're going on 3 years now. And so it's been really great to see how she has progressed and grown, and how we are able to connect and help her to continue to grow through that process.
That's wonderful. And how does that affect, in a positive way, your sense of belonging?
For me, well, it's just like it just feels so good that I am. It validates me in the fact that you know, she continues to progress in her career, but she continues to want to have me serve as her coach. And it's it's great, because it's just like, you know, like you start to develop a synergy where you're working together, and she, I think, appreciates my approach to helping her with her issues. So it feels absolutely great. And so like and that's rare. You know, I mean, some people you might work really well with for whatever, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, a year, but then, you know, then it's done, and that's okay too. But being able to that's why we do this, is because we love most coaches love people. We love to help see them grow, help to empower them, and that's where the satisfaction comes in.
That's wonderful, André. Dr. Nathan, you wanted to add something.
You know, and that sense of, you know, feeling that you belong as a coach could help us with another challenge that many of us face, and that's what we call the imposter syndrome. You know,
very popular now.
You know, because when you're beaten on a daily basis, if you're fighting, it can take a toll on your confidence and on your professional growth. So again, knowing that, you know what, I can be of value to someone and see them grow, you know, and that's all right, you know, and I feel there are enough people who want my services that I don't have to run after those who don't want it.
Absolutely. That's a great point.
You know, and I think finding that level where you are comfortable dealing with, where I have dealt from CEOs, VPs and whatnot, you know, they all have the same needs, right? But you know, again, what people are used to, they're not used to seeing many black males around in their surrounding, because sometimes the least diverse place I've seen as a coach and a consultant at the boardrooms, the executive rooms. Sometimes they're the least, they're the least diverse. You know, sometimes,
You're
you know,
right.
I have been to executive meeting where they say, here, Dr. Charles, we brought you in to help us with the diversity in this company. And many times I am tempted to say, you know, let's start with this table.
Oh,
Let's
oh
start with this
man.
table. You know,
You're
so don't
right.
say, you know, hey, it's good for you guys down there, but when we look around this table here, you know, when we look around this table here, we don't see that diversity.
Yeah.
You know, and
You're so right.
again, you know, I have been in position where I was part of that table, but you know what, you know, with the lack of support, you know, very soon it's like one of those turn doors, you know, very soon, you know, again getting back to you're not supported, you're not you know, you don't, you're not included, you don't feel included, you know, and so very soon you look for other pasture, you know. So again, those are some of the challenges, you know, and that we face, you know, in terms of dealing with corporation who they talk a good talk, but they're not willing to put their money where their mouths are.
That's right. That's right.
I want to add something, and this is a question that I just came up with. It's something that I just came to me when you were saying. I wanted to ask them that question. Like, let's start here. So, do you think that some of the movements or things that boards are doing is just to have that box checked off? But like you said, there is no real policy, no real walk, like you just said, going on in corporations.
Yeah, and I even say some do, but some are more serious about doing it, but they don't want to. They don't want to stand the consequences. They realize that there's pain involved, and they don't want to face the pain. You know, just today I was reading a report from the World Economic Forum, and you know what? This study came out again, and I forgot who put it out, but you know, that boards that are diversified, that have more females, do better than boards with males. And you know what? When I read that, I said, how many more studies do they want? But you're not seeing it.
I agree.
You know, diversity, you know, as a matter of fact, you see like some trying to turn the clock back, you know. But again, when you start looking at all levels and areas of profitability that is impacting, very soon they have to pay attention to it. You know what? Because they're shareholders. When they look at that, they're not looking, they're looking and saying, you know what? This profits flowing out. You know,
That's
so
right.
it's not that we don't know, it's that we don't do. Or
Yeah,
we
we
can't
have
bring
all
ourselves,
the
you
we
know,
have
we
all the
can't,
economic
yeah,
reports. We have all the data. When are
yeah.
we going? When are these people who have the power to call the things or to start making changes?
Yeah.
When are they going to start making the changes? Right.
And this can impact Black coaches also. I had a client, a white client, higher up in a corporation, who wanted me as his coach. And I said, why do you want me as your coach? He said, you know what? I look around our corporation and I see it changing, and there are a lot of diversity coming, and I want you to help me to manage that I've never had anyone say that to me. And I thought, well, that's interesting that he
Mm-hmm.
realized that I can be of value to him to help to
Right.
understand where most of his people are. And again, there's only once I've had that, and I said, wow, that's an interesting twist.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to understand his diverse employee base. So he said, you know what? I want you to be my coach. Because he said
Yeah,
there are things that I need.
he's a wise man.
Absolutely.
Looking
He said, he said, I
for
need to
all
come
your
to grips
knowledge.
with certain things in order to deal with them effectively. Absolutely.
Right. That was a very wise man. You know, pairing up with you, getting all the knowledge that you have, and helping him.
Yes.
That's
Very
wonderful.
much.
Yes, Nathan.
Very much.
Andre, do you wanted to add something? I saw you
Yeah.
nodding. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm just gonna say Nathan has brought his A game today because he has brought some like jewels, some really good stuff. One of the things that I've noticed with, and I think that this is one of those things that is really hard, is like, you know, if we're doing DEIB work and we're trying to make spaces more diverse, I've had clients come to me, quite a few clients for DEIB coaching, great people, willing to put work into it, willing to put time into it and really focus on it. And it's great to see. Unfortunately, when it comes to systemic change, like change within corporate environments, you know, one of the things that I tell them is, like, one of the first things I ask is, do you have allies in the organization? Who thinks like you? And sometimes they know, and sometimes they're like, well, you know, there might be one or two people here or there. And I said, because they're like, they come in and they're really excited about making change. And I tell them that this is a long and hard process. You know, I'm honest with them. You know, like, if you are legitimately interested in making change, you're going to have to do this in a systemic way. You're going to have to bring allies together and move forward on this together. And it's sad because sometimes I see people who are really interested in making changes that they see within their organizations, but then they just get worn down. You know, after a certain period of time, they just get worn down, or they just recognize, hey, I can't do this by myself. And it's true, they can't do this by themselves. They have to have people that see it together. And so I love what you said, Nathan, about, you know, you go into this boardroom and they're like, all right, we want to make change. How do we do it? And you're like, well, let's talk about this room first, you know, and that's key. And when you put things out to people like that, and you're asking them to take action, that's where it becomes more difficult, you know, because people don't typically want to give away opportunity, money, or power. Those things just are difficult to kind of walk away from or even share in a lot of cases. So I think all of those things are valid, are like really are part of being in these spaces. But, you know, like in Nathan's case, he's been a coach for a long time. And so the value that he's bringing into his clients, and the client that you said, hey, I want you to be my coach. That speaks to us as coaches, and having and looking at and considering people from a different perspective than you, because you can get that's what's missing if you don't have a diverse group of either employees, coaches, executives, whatever it is. So that's basically it.
Yeah. Wow. You know, and another area that André was speaking that sparked in my mind was, even as Black coaches, when we go out there, and we know it happens generally in all areas, but the compensation discrepancy,
Mhm.
Yes. Mhm.
you know, sometimes the figure, so you should be less than, because I go into areas and I know, I know what the numbers are, you know, and immediately, you know, if you don't have that confidence of knowing your worth, of knowing your value, of knowing what you can bring to the table, what results you can, and everything that we do in coaching can be verified. All the results can be verified. And I believe in all the returns on investment can be verified. So this is an area that we have to get more confidence in, and I think we'll get more confidence as we support each other, that we don't have a race to the bottom in terms
Mhm.
of costs. This is the value you bring. This is the value that I bring to you. As a consultant, as I said, I was a consultant for many years, doing coaching consulting, and I said, this is my price. And people say, wow, that's a lot. And my question was, what is the problem costing you? And when they were able to put that in perspective, how much I like them. I said, give me a number. What is this problem that you want solved costing you? Oh, $500,000 a month. How long has it been going on? About a year. If it's not fixed, how long is it going to continue? Indefinitely.
Mhm.
So therefore, this is what I'm asking in comparison, if you want to work and resolve that.
Mhm.
So this is where I think that we have to have that savvy, that we don't, we come prepared. We come prepared for those tough discussions, that we don't get
Right,
boxed and back down. And this is where, again, as André was talking about, this is where we need to support each other.
right. So my next question was going to be, what strategies would you put in place? And I think you just started saying we need to be more savvy. We need to be, ask the numbers, like, what is it costing you? What other strategies do you think you could put, or at least propose to dismantle, these barriers that you see?
As I said before, focus on
Mhm.
results.
Mhm.
People, they're not hiring you because you're a coach. They're hiring because they need results.
Mhm.
And understand that. Understand the result that they're looking for and deliver. We live in the wild west of coaching, and people offer lots of stuff out there, blah, 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 but are they delivering?
Mhm.
Is it making a difference in the clients' lives and in their environment? And that is what
Right.
we need to focus on.
Mhm.
I am not a Marshall Goldsmith but I have a similar strategy to him.
Mhm.
I have returned, if you don't get it, that's all right,
Mhm.
because you're
Mhm.
paying me for results. Granted, you have a part to play in that also.
Mhm.
And this is why I believe, rather than looking at whether the chemistry meeting, whether
Mhm.
we jive with each other, which is important, mind you. I want to understand, how serious are you in your coaching journey? Are
Mhm.
you are you going to make it a priority? Are you going to show up? Or you say, well, I didn't feel like showing up today. Those people I don't want. I want people who are willing to invest, and that time for coaching, we draw a circle around it, and only
Mhm.
an emergency is going to
Mhm.
not keeping that appointment. That is for them.
Right.
That is
Yeah.
for their development. And I stress that. I said, this is your time.
That's a good
So,
point.
so again, I think that is more important. So someone who is willing to invest in themselves, turn up, do what they need to do, right?
Mhm.
Those are the clients I want, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you know, and one good thing in being in this business for so long is that, you know what, you get less tolerant of nonsense. You know,
You're right.
you know,
People need to be engaged,
yeah.
and you know, the coaches need to be engaged as well to see their own results.
Yeah.
If you don't put
Absolutely.
in the work, you're never going to see that result that you want or you
Ah,
need,
you know,
right?
and this is why I don't believe, and again, it's not all about the bucks. The less you pay or
Mhm.
given coaching for free, people don't
Mhm.
see the value of it.
Yes,
Now,
they don't see the value.
even if you cannot afford it, I think we can do something, that you do something, you have some skin in the game. Because when you don't have skin in the game, or you can say, you know what, it's just $20, I could skip it. No, when you have to think about, wow, if I skip this, that is skin in the game. You still get what you pay for.
Absolutely. And just to add to what you're saying, Nathan, I feel like, just through my own experience, I feel like if the client is really invested and really, you can feel and you can see and hear that they want and desire coaching and are hungry for it and want your help. That brings out the best in us as coaches as well, because
Absolutely.
you want to be like, you're like motivated. You're like, okay, we're in this together. We're gonna work together on this. And it's just coaching is such a beautiful process when the two parties come together. And so, yeah, like, you don't want somebody who's like, oh, well.
Absolutely.
Right.
You have the clients, the clients who drain you and those who energize you.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? There are some clients that drain you.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it happens. These are some of the things that we have to, we can help with.
Absolutely.
Ah, all right. Well, do you have anything, additional, something that you wanted to bring to this conversation? Because we're almost at the end of our hour. Something do you want to, like, emphasize?
One of the things that I feel is important, and it's interesting because I had a conversation with, well, let me just start with the fact it's important for Black male coaches to to support each other, to mentor each other, to
Right.
to share and bounce ideas off of each other, because we're coming from a different perspective. And it's not to say that we can't do that with other coaches, whether they're male or female. You can. But I think that there's an interesting and unique perspective that comes from connecting with someone like a Black male coach. I had a client who I brought through coaching, I think about 2 years ago. And at first he was like resistant. He was like, what do I like? He didn't understand the process. And so I worked with him, and then he, at one point, he said he just like got it. And so from that point, we really got into some really constructive conversations, sessions. He is from a corporate background, and he was a senior management, but he wanted to change. He decided that he was going to go into coaching. And so he left his organization. Like, there was a process, but he went to another organization, and then he was laid off from that, an executive location, and then he was laid off from that. He went to school. He got his coaching certificate. I just talked to him today, and he was talking about how, like in a nutshell, that he was very thankful for me, and that I helped to support him and helped to. I hadn't really looked at it in this way, but he basically considered me a mentor. And I was like, wow, that, you know, it was really like, I was really touched by that. And, you know, we have been in contact, you know, for the last, at this point now, he's like, his coaching finished about a year and a half ago. So we've been still connected from time to time, and he is on his way. He's developed a website. He's found his niche, and so we are going to continue to partner and work together to really support each other, you know. And so
That's wonderful.
it's just the importance of having relationships is critical, because
Right.
you just need it at different times. And sometimes, like some of the things that he was saying today, I was like, oh, wow, you are absolutely right, because I was thinking it myself, and then he voiced it, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not the only one thinking this way. So, you know, my thought is just the importance of partnering, mentoring, and maintaining relationships.
Absolutely.
That's, yes. Go ahead, Dr. Nathan.
You know, absolutely, you know, and I'll say, you know, my last words here is that Black coaches, continue to develop yourself professionally. You know, you need to maintain that edge. You need to believe in yourself. Don't allow other people to define who you are. You need to understand who you are, what you bring to the game, the value that you have, the importance you are to those clients that you work with. Don't forget that. Don't let anybody tell you anything else. So once you concentrate on that, self-development, all the things we heard, get support. A lot of Black coaches, and as well as other coaches, are solopreneurs. So they're by themselves. So they don't understand, you know. This is where organizations like ICF South Florida, it can bring you into connectivity with other people, you know. So all of these things, you know, and it all boils down to what we always tell our clients, right? It's all about self-care, but it's self-care in a professional sense. You know, take care of yourself, understand your value, understand what you do, and above all, love and enjoy it.
Well
Have a
said.
supported community, right? Where we come together, so that, like you said, solopreneurs, it's a lonely profession, especially if you're working from home or, you know, remotely, virtually. It can get pretty, you know, lonely, heavy. It's challenging, like you said. So having this community, having mentors like André has, you know, someone that calls him mentor, and it's reassuring for you, right? And to have the privilege of walking side by side with somebody who is an emerging professional, and you being by their side. And
absolutely,
that's wonderful, that, you know, to have that support. And we go back again to the same concept of belonging, of having a community where you belong, and where you know, cheer up each other. And all of us together, right? Because I want to belong to that community as well. Right. Well, thank you too for being here. This conversation has been, you know, so rich of experiences, from your lives or backgrounds, or everything that you have shared. I am really grateful for your time and for your presence here this afternoon. And I want to thank you on behalf of the ICF South Florida chapter. And I look forward to seeing you in the near future. So if you'd like to close with greetings or, with a message, Dr. Nathan and Andre, to close this session.
You are what you are needed in the world.
Mhm.
Your services are needed. They are vital. They are critical. There's someone out there waiting for it. So don't deny those services to people.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I would just say, once again, thank you, Claudia, for inviting us. And this forum has been great because it's, sometimes as solopreneurs, we kind of are in our own head, and we might not necessarily be able to kind of talk about issues that are kind of swimming in our minds. And so this type of forum really is great because it can be cathartic to kind of share information and to listen and get wisdom from others, but also to those coaches and those people who might be listening and in the future, maybe it helps them. And so for me, it's like my mission has always been to help empower people and help them grow. And so I feel fortunate to be a coach and to continue this work. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you again. So thank you.